Good morning and welcome to today's Talking Cafe. I'm just looking to the comments box to make sure that we are live, so fingers crossed. Today we are really lucky. We're being joined by Lynne Frank's OBE, and she's a Somerset-based, Wincanton, women's champion and entrepreneur. And this week being International Women's Week, what more could we ask for? What a fantastic way to finish. Thank you so much for joining us, Lynne. And I'd like to start with a poem, as usual. However, today's is not my poem. This was written by Samantha Stocker Harding, who actually works with Lynne and is part of the Dream Team, which is what she's called the poem. And it's welcome to the beautiful hub. We're a community. We're more than a club. This, by the way, should be done in a rap, but don't think it'd go down quite well with me doing it. A union of strong women with an amazing vision. Yet this is just the beginning of many life-changing decisions. We're constantly giving, following our ongoing mission. We dare not listen to the negative opinions, as we are women who are driven of creating change in a world full of deranged, shining our light while doing what's right with no violence and fight, watching women ignite under full moonlight. Being all magical, as well as very rational, that is why one day we'll be national, all because of someone special who's been planting seeds since day one. Many incredible things she has done, second to none, is empowering women from old to young with an amazing achievement. I'm so grateful to be part of something with meaning, far from demeaning. Sometimes it feels like I'm dreaming. So thank you, thank you, thank you, Lynne Franks, for bringing us together to make this world better. Your work will be remembered forever. Blessed be. And I think that is just a fantastic, it just sums it all up about who you are, what you do. And we have so much to talk about now. It's where to begin, isn't it? Your thoughts are always think local, act global. Where do we start, Lynne?
Well, it's certainly been a busy week this week, and it has been local and global. I mean, less local than we were planning because we didn't expect to be in lockdown. So we had some really exciting local events planned, which we had to cancel. I got two buildings here in Wincanton, two of the old buildings in the High Street in Marketplace. And one of them we have a shop, which will be opening again on April 12th. And the next door, I converted an old pub into the Seed Hub. And the last 3 years, we've actually had a film showing here of a women-themed movie, and then we had a panel afterwards to talk about it. So we were planning a lot this year on the same lines, which we've had to cancel, but we will be back 2022. I mean, we're going to have a conference, and we're going to start doing some community initiatives, which actually are going ahead with the Balsam Centre, which is our local community centre charity, working with children, planting seeds and growing vegetables and getting cross-generational kind of learning together about how to grow your food. So that is happening, but there was huge relief all around when I said we'll never get it. It's not going to happen this March the 8th because it's not exactly growing season yet. So we're going ahead doing things. But so what I have been doing, because that's the time we're in, is I've been on Zoom, I've been on the new app Clubhouse quite a lot this week, and I've been working very globally. So this week, International Women's Day and International Women's Week, which is the 21st anniversary since I brought out, just find my book, the Seed Handbook, which was the first book for women that came out anywhere in the world, teaching them how to start small businesses from the kitchen table. And SEED is an acronym for Sustainable Enterprise and Empowerment Dynamic, the feminine way to create business. So that was kind of the beginning of the whole thing. And there's a huge amount of content that's been delivered, has been delivered all over the world, in African villages and post-war zones, as well as in this country, to women in prison and the corporate boardroom, and to many, many women entrepreneurs starting businesses from their kitchen table. So this was 21 years this week. And I launched it in Arabia. We launched Seed Arabia this week with a big project working with 2,000 women in Saudi Arabia, where women have not been encouraged to move into leadership roles traditionally, but that's shifting very rapidly all across the Middle East. So I'm very excited at the work we're going to be doing across the Middle East with Seed, taking the principles and the values and the program and adapting it for the region. And then next week, I'm launching Kazakhstan in Central Asia, which was the Soviet Union, also not traditionally a country that has really promoted or developed women's leadership, but they are also going through a huge change. So next week, I'm doing a workshop translated into Kazakhstan, Russian, and English for 250 mostly younger women in Kazakhstan, and then so that's next week. And the book's already come out in Kazakh and Russian last year. So it's a lot going on.
I think the reason that you're breaking boundaries with countries that wouldn't normally promote this is because traditionally, if you say to somebody, feminist, they think stereotypically, oh, man-hater. And the thing that is really noticeable with your work is the cooperation between males and females. You promote the working the most efficient way to get things done and to work together. And I think that's the big difference, isn't it?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I don't come in as a feminist. I talk about the feminine way of creating business, and that's also, can be used by men too. It's a different way of looking at how to run business, which is much more values-based and has much more authenticity and integrity, but it is about women coming together. So yes, women do need to work and with men and all genders actually in collaboration and all race and all nationalities. But first we have to start with ourselves. Women have to start working. Well, first of all, we have to start with that, really with ourselves and our inner work, which Seed also does on self-confidence and personal development and well-being, particularly now in this COVID world where women are going to be suffering and have been suffering much more than men in terms of isolation, homeschooling, losing their jobs, mental health issues, domestic violence issues. There's a huge call out now for women in this year we've had to be supported by other women, because we really need to be in our women's circles where we can really hold the space for each other. So it starts with women collaborating and cooperating with each other. And then once we get that together, we'll start with the men. But it's not anti-men, it's about equality and respect of all our differences, whether it be gender, whether it be race, whether it be nationalities, cultures, religions. It's about respect for each other, and then developing that, really going forward into something that's going to help the future of this planet for everybody, for all our children and our grandchildren. So when we were open, because I've got the cafe downstairs at the Seed Cafe, we were once a month doing a women's gathering, and women from all over Somerset and quite a lot from the Southwest generally would come here once a month, and we'd have guest speakers, and it was incredibly successful and popular. So we've gone online with those now. Everything's gone online. I mean, what this year has been for me is an opportunity to do everything that I've wanted to do with Seed Online, to make it happen, because we've got the time and the space. So I created a Seed Hub Club. It's Seed Hub Club, where women have come together from all over the country. The some international, but because of the time difference, it's mostly women from all over this country who have started working in collaboration and learning about each other's stories, become friends, started working together. Women that haven't met in person yet, but over this last year through Seed have come together and sort of found their tribe. It's a very interesting time, actually, in the way that the world is changing. Very interesting.
It's really reassuring to know that you have found new ways to connect with those women still, despite the pandemic. And I live really locally to the Seed Hub, and I remember when you bought the old I think it was the Red Lion, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And all the excitement that Lynne Franks is coming to Wincanton, and to see it.
It's not all good. It was who's that PR woman coming from London? What do you think she's doing with our old pub? I
think
falling to pieces. I had to rebuild the whole place.
Most people locally that I ever spoke to, they thought it was really good, because it was nice to see that something amazing was coming to Wincanton, because Not a lot is in Wincanton,
Well,
is
it's
it?
changing. I think it was the first change that sort of happened here, and with other initiatives that are going on in Wincanton from our mayor, really committed to making a sustainable town in every way. Bootmakers who do workshops for children. I'm sure you've taken your children where they take rubbish and make them creative. And then we've got the old Clementina's hardware store, which has become an artist centre. And we've got lots of exciting things going on. So Wincanton is on the change, and I had no intention. I had no idea why I ended up in Wincanton. I'd never heard of it. It was not the plan. I certainly wasn't thinking of opening a centre here or anything. It ended up this way. And that was about 4 years ago. And it seemed the timing was absolutely right. And to buy these two beautiful old buildings, which, as I said, I had to rebuild completely. I've still got the plumbers in today. But, they're just, I love Wincanton, actually. I really like it. It's the right place for me. And I like being near Frome and Bruton and Glastonbury. I like everything's 20 minutes, half an hour away, and I've got friends all over the county. But I feel I'm in the right place. So I hope
it's not unusual for me to be in Wincanton and see you. I think I said to you the other day, I was at my dentist is next door but one, I think, to the hub, and I'd seen you when I was going to ask you about coming on the Talking Cafe, and I chickened out. So I was like, oh,
I'm very approachable. But anyway,
I ended up sending the email instead.
We'll be opening again soon, so you must come by and bring your girls and come and have it's been a vegan cafe, so we're going to keep it still vegetarian and vegan. And it's going to be a book cafe, so we're going to have all the books that I love, women's themed mostly, but not all written by women, and well-being books and business books, but talking about business from a very sustainable perspective, like Seed does. So all the things that I want to read, and I think others will, lots on well-being of all kinds. We're going to have here at the Seed Hub, so you can come in, have your coffee, have your cup of tea, green tea, and go through our books and find things that resonate for you. And we'll have like really, really good magazines you can't find in the area, which again talk a lot about health and well-being, which is a big part of my interest.
And it's so important now more than ever, isn't it, for women's mental health, to have a place to chill out like that and to, wash away the worries of what's going on in the outside world and really connect with yourself and like-minded people around you.
Absolutely. And I hope, and I will be encouraging that when our customers come in, that there is a big community table here that they can sit on and actually get to chat to other people, or if they're working from home, they can bring their computer in and work here for a few hours just to network. And we did have some wonderful live music and DJ nights when we were open, great fun. So we will go back to having live music once a month. And Samantha, who wrote that poem you read, who is a really brilliant spoken word artist, has been running poetry nights here when we were open. So we'll start doing those again as well.
And you can also stay there, can't you? At the when you're allowed to open.
I've got bedrooms here as well, which have also been closed. So that's what's so interesting with all these women who are our Seed tribe, are all coming down from Scotland and from everywhere. They've all said to me, as soon as you're open, we're coming to stay. And we teach retreats here and workshops that people that live locally can come to, but people can come and stay here as well. So there's a lot going on. And on our online, and again, we've sort of transferred that to our online community so that we do workshops, not just me, but people I really admire and rate come and do workshops here every week, whether it's about natural beauty or qigong or craft. Tamsin Gregory, who works with me and runs the shop and the products. The shop is all eco products, and everything is. We don't buy anything if it's got bad packaging. It's all got to be healthy packaging.
It's beautiful. The window, your shop window, is so colourful and inviting.
She's an artist, so
Beautiful.
We're going to be expanding the Seed products, and we want, we hope that people locally will get involved with that. So it's all going to be, recycled and ethical and fair trade, and we'll carry on. Tamsin does these fantastic craft workshops. We've got craft kits. It's an exciting time, and we work with as many people locally as we can. So these, I haven't really shown these yet, but I do something called Power of Seven, which is based on traditional archetypes. So a local artist, young woman that I found, very talented, went to the local school and local college. She's done these. So these are Seed Sower. These are the archetypes holding a bit awkwardly here. I won't go into all. And that is alchemist. They've all got an animal. That's the butterfly. That's the aspect of ourself or part of my group that makes the difference, turns the impossible into possible. That's medicine woman, who's kind of the bit of ourselves to look after our well-being and the well-being of the group. We're going to do a whole exhibition around these in Somerset Art Week, actually. Storyteller and wisdom keeper, which is that aspect of group or yourself that holds it all together with our values. That's Space Weaver, who's the creative with the spider, and that's Sky Dancer, which is all about relationships. So again, I'm working with a talented young woman here, and we're going to be promoting her work, and she's working with us on the image of what we're doing. It all brings it all together, and I've always wanted the hub. Once we're open, we will be an opportunity for young women to come and work here and get skills training and also do workshops specifically for them. So lots going on.
So I feel this is the beginning of a beautiful relationship, even with us, because of course, as things start to develop, we can then get it out there among, the people in Somerset, so that they can, they have this space to come and see what it is you're up to. You can come
we could definitely do events together for the community. Whether you want to do live talking cafes or whether other projects that you do for the community and what you're doing, it's a lovely big space here. You have to come and visit as soon as you can and when we can. And I'll show you, it's got enough space here to bring in 40, 50 people. We could have a nice event of something to do with what your colleagues are working on. I mean, I always wanted it as a community hub.
I know you've said in the past you've linked in with the Balsam Centre, haven't you?
Yes, very close to the Balsam Centre, and with all the things that are going on in the town, really, and working closely with South Somerset District Council on the regeneration and making sure that I can give any advice I can on, if you like, the PR side, because my background's PR. So how do we get out to the world what's going on in Wincanton and what will be going on, and develop it together so we can have new, jobs for young people and make it really sustainable. There's already a group here, One Planet Wincanton, they're called, I think, who have been. I know there's One Planet Bruton, there's a few One Planets around, and they have done a great job rewilding. They've started to rewild some of the open council community land. So that's already going now. They put some trees in, they put some flowers in. I mean, for me, it's all about, seed is the name of my brand, but it's also what I believe in, and it's all about using the metaphor of planting for the community, for all of us to grow together. So that's really exciting to be part of that and be here for that change that's going on here. It's all good.
So going back to your writing, your new book, The Pod Effect.
Oh, that's in my head, but not on my computer. It's not.
So
that's part of what it's a work in progress. I've just been too busy. But these power of 7 archetypes, that's all part of the pod. So the pod is a group of 7 women. Pod is an acronym for Power on Demand. So what I've been doing is I've been running workshops and coaching and talks about pod's effect and how groups of 7 can come together. First of all, they come as a group and work with each other and coach each other and support each other, and how those groups then can connect in with each other, whether it's online or offline, and we can create a whole network, very circular network, as opposed to the old style of linear from up to down. It can be women coming together in a different way, and men if it works out that way. So the pod effect is we're doing it. We've got groups of 7 happening. But I've got to put it all on a piece, more than one piece of paper. I've got to do it as a book. There's not enough hours in the day, especially now with all the social media constant. I am going to do it.
Yeah, as you say, with the social media being constant, the one thing the pandemic has done is, as you say, found this new alternative way of working. However, your time can merge because it knows no bounds now, because you're there and it's all at your fingertips, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I think we've
Yeah.
all.
I mean, I'm connected. My phone is like part of my body now. It's like the whole, and you know, I check in first thing in the morning, and there's people coming into me from other countries, and then there's things going on, and now this Clubhouse app, which is even more busy than ever. So it's like, it's not that healthy. There are times when I have to leave it at home and go for a walk with the dog.
Yeah. Yes, we've got a lot to thank our animals for, really, haven't we?
I've got a
Just
dog
say
and a
the
cat here, and
sanity.
they are my companions, my trusted companions.
Ever loyal. Doesn't matter what you say to them.
Oh no, they can sulk. They do sulk. If I push the cat off the bed because he's annoying me, he gets very sulky.
So the plan is for you to reopen on the...
We'll open the shop on April 12, which is, I think, the official day. We are looking at, can we open, because it will be partly retail in the cafe with the books. So we might open with takeaway and coffees before May 11th. But it depends how long it is to get it all ready. I'm not rushing either. And then we will open the bedrooms from May as well. I think they keep changing the dates, so perhaps I don't understand them well enough. So I'm just but we're prepared. We are in preparation. And then we'll be launching new products, well-being products for women, sort of May, June, because that was originally for International Women's Day, and everything's gone back a bit. But it still seems perfect, really. I'm glad we've had this year. Well, the shop has been open backwards and forwards, but it's given us the opportunity to become online. So if anybody wants to have a look at our products, it's seed-store.org. It's given us time to really think about who we are. We've got our own candles now. I don't know if you can see the candle behind me. We've got seed candles and seed incense and, as I said, the craft kit. So it's given us a lot of time to really understand what we're doing and improve on it. And the same with the cafe. We've been open pretty much for the year. And I think it's been a healthy time to take a step back and say, well, we were so crazy busy before then for over a year. And we did at least 2 or 3 nights a week when we did events as well as the daytime. So what do we want to do now that will not create in me going mad? Mad, not, just sort of losing it. There's too much going on. And do it in a way which is going to be beneficial and fun, and healthy.
Sustainable.
It looks like we've already got. Julie is asking, will you have art workshops when it all is back up and running? And she's wanting to be kept in the loop, as it were. So this is.
Well, she should let us have her email address, and we'll put her on our mailing list. If you go, what's the best place for our email address? Is it the Seed Hub? Hello. Well, we're either got a Seed Women with Lynne Franks on Facebook, or if she emails, I don't remember all our email addresses. seedteam@seednetwork.com. Sends us her email, or anybody that's listening. We'd be happy to put you on our mailing list, make sure you know what's going on. Art classes, probably that will happen more up at Clementina's. They're doing more art, but definitely craft. It really kind of depends how you quantify art. Well, maybe. I mean, I'm open to all of it. It's such a lovely space downstairs, and it's very light and airy. So if we can do art classes and somebody wants to do them, I'm very open to doing it.
And I know, of course, you're a firm believer in what is meant to happen will happen, won't it? Things do take a life of their own, and they go where they're meant to go, aren't they? So
yes, that's right. I really do think that, and that seems to be what's happened in my life. I don't know how I've got anywhere, but I'm there, and it seems exactly right at that moment, and then things grow from there. I mean,
I know when we've met up in the week via StreamYard, you told us a little bit about how you came to being who you are, really, and what sort of drove you to becoming Lynne Franks OBE. So,
well, yeah, sure. I mean, I started really. I was a daughter of a butcher, and I was working in the butcher shop when I was 12 in North London. I'm grandchild and great-grandchild of immigrants from Eastern Europe who came over at the turn of the century from the pogroms. My family was Jewish. And so I was brought up in North London, and it never occurred to me to go to university. I left school as soon as I could. At 16, I learned how to be shorthand typist, which is what people did in those days. And I worked on a couple of magazines, and I wanted to be a journalist, really. And then I sort of ended up by default in a PR office, and realized that PR was something that was very natural to me, because it's about people and connection and relationships and writing, which I love to do. So at 21, I started my own business, which in those days was a lot easier than it would be now. And I had one client who was a woman called Catherine Hamnett, who's a fashion designer who's still going like me. And she started off doing those big slogan T-shirts. I don't know if you remember, which is still out there now. Choose love and choose life. That all came when we worked together. And I built up really very much on the grassroots. Like I had 3 or 4 clients, fashion clients, quite quickly, and then worked very hard. And I was doing it from my kitchen table. And then I moved down to an office in Covent Garden while Covent Garden was still a fruit and vegetable market, and just sort of invested back into the business and built up with a great team of young people all over the years. I mean, the business was over 20 years, so lots of young people came to work for me and get trained by me. And most of them are still, all of them really that are around are still great friends of mine, except they're not young people anymore. As I've got older, they've got older. So they're all in their 50s and 60s and all done really well. And they tell me that it's because I really pushed them into doing things they never would have thought they were able to do. So they come and work for me at 17, 18, 19, and I'd say, here's the project, go and do it. So I knew that I only said it to the ones that I knew could do it. And they would go and do it. And from that, they got their self-confidence, and they felt they could do anything. And many of them had. They've started businesses. They've all had incredible careers. We've been meeting regularly, quite a few of us over the last few months, actually, every 3 weeks or so, and reminiscing the stories of the crazy times we used to have in London running this PR business that was mostly fashion, but we did entertainment, and we were involved in anything that was happening in London in the 70s and 80s and 90s. I put on London Fashion Week. I created London Fashion Week. At the same time, I did a lot of stuff to create awareness for AIDS and for environmental issues and human rights issues and women's issues. So as much as I was working most of the high street and department stores, I worked for Harvey Nichols, I worked for Harrods, I worked for Next. I mean, most of the high street, really. At the same time I was doing that, we were also always doing causes that we really believed in, and I really believed in, that would help others. And I had 2 children on the way, so I was working day and night, really. And so I became a Buddhist just to have something that gave me a bit of center, because I was taking off and burning out and spinning out of control. So I became a Buddhist and started chanting about 35 years ago. And when I came to Wincanton, I found a very old friend of mine living here who's a Buddhist, and various other people. I mean, it's a tiny town. And I sort of found myself living in a street, in the high street, where there's about 7 or 8 of us women, all about the same age, who are all practicing the same Buddhism, which is rather nice. And so
you always say that you are drawn to things, aren't you, rather than like
I really am. I had no idea my friend Jenny was living here when I came here. I wanted to live in Somerset. I was living with somebody then. I had the idea. I'd been in Sussex, I've been in Mallorca, I've been in the United States. I've been traveling around for quite a while. And I thought, and I wasn't planning to come to live in Somerset. And then I came down to visit for the weekend and sort of fell in love with it, and heard about somewhere that I rented in Charlton Musgrove, and I was there for a year. It was beautiful. Then I thought, well, my relationship was falling to pieces, thank goodness. And I ended up coming into Wincanton, and Jenny told me about Number 4 Marketplace, which was, it had a shop front, but wasn't used as a shop. And the people in there were renting, and it was for sale. So I bought it and thought, well, I've got a shop front. I've had shop before. Why don't I start a shop? Oh, this pub next door is falling to pieces and is up for sale. Why don't I turn that into, I mean, this was never a plan. It was just a kind of free fall flow. And I sold the house that I owned in Mallorca. And with that money, I was able to do what I've done here. And even though we've been closed for a year, I don't regret any of it. I know it's exactly the right thing. And when we reopen, it's going to be brilliant. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Very exciting and better even than it was before the lockdown.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right, because I think women are everybody is so burnt out, aren't they? And they're just going to love the excuse and to visit places like your cafe.
Yeah, well, it's finding this sort of this tribe of like-minded women that feel the same way about life, that may of all different ages, but may have issues of all different kinds that they've sort of survived. It could be they may have had breast cancer, or they might have been through an unhappy divorce, or their children have left home. I mean, all those kinds of things that happen, which are life. That is life. And particularly with the pandemic and what that's brought into people, especially the isolation and the mental health issues. Lots of
Yeah, and I think a lot of had the time to reflect as well and realise. I mean, I know I certainly have realised that. Hang on, we weren't taking enough time out for us. We were on this commercial merry-go-round where everything was going fast forward. It's now, whilst yes, it's been very challenging, it has given you that space to stop and think about me. And as you say, that's what it's about. You suddenly realize I've got extra time because I'm not doing X, Y, and Z. People aren't visiting. The social life has really stopped. And yeah, as you say, I think we will start at a very more conscious level when we start going back into, I'm going to say normal world, but I don't think it's ever going to go back to how it was.
It's going to go back to being normal.
No.
We knew it, and I think you're right. I think staying still has given us an opportunity to really look at our lives and say, well, it's not all about rushing to, I say this as a retailer, but rushing to spend lots of money on things that we don't really need, and to find out where those clothes are made, for example, and that they're not been made exploiting labor, and they're made ethically in terms of environment. And the food we want to put in our bodies, we want it to be healthy food. And we're not, for me, it's like just giving me the opportunity to connect with so many people all over the place on Zoom, and that has become the norm. Will people go back to working in offices? I don't think so, not in the same way.
No, I don't think so.
We've learned we can do it differently.
That that has its positives as well. I mean, I know I found it particularly difficult home working because you don't get that social interaction. So we're all really looking forward to getting out and about into the community again once we're allowed to. But I think it, for carbon footprint wise, at least we're not rushing to the office unnecessarily using our cars. I mean, I can't even remember the last time I put fuel in my car. So it has had really good effects, hasn't it?
Yeah, I think we all want to reconnect physically. We want to give a hug and to our family and our friends. To be perfectly honest, I've been working all the way through, and I haven't felt particularly isolated. And I'm in a bubble with with a family that Tamsin that works in her family, so we were together for Christmas. I haven't felt at any point that isolation. I talk to my grandchildren, and they're not around here, so we're on a screen. It's not the same. Obviously, it's not the same. But
I think it will make us appreciate that time we have with our loved ones more.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah.
It's given us a chance. I call it the great pause, to take a step back and say, okay, what do I want going forward? How do I want to live my life going forward? I don't have to go back to living it the other way. I do want connection. I do want to be with people. That's why I'm so happy that the cafe will be open and an opportunity for people who have been isolated to come in, as you say, and reconnect with maybe strangers, but
leave as friends.
Yeah, exactly that. Come in as strangers and leave as friends. That's lovely. Yeah.
I have a question for you. So when in the 70s, when obviously International Women's Day was really like, what is that? Did you ever think that when you started out with I don't really know how to ask it. Did you think that it would take off the way it has, and that it, did you imagine that? I know we still have a long, long way to go. I mean, this week in the media has shown us that. But did you think that you would have got as far as you have with it in this?
Well, in the 70s, I don't think I was even aware of it. I was working in women's issues from probably the late 80s, because I was busy building up my business, having my children. It was such a sort of feminine world in a way, PR and the journal for women, we were women. A lot of the designers were women, although our clients were men in many cases, of course. So it wasn't something that really was part of my awareness. And then when I sold my business, I started realizing that there were changes that I wanted to see happen and be part of. And in '95, in '95, there was a huge conference, the biggest conference ever held for women before or since in Beijing, called What Women Want. Oh no, sorry, it wasn't What Women Want, it was the UN conference. I'm looking at a big poster for What Women Want. So I put on an event and I took over the whole of the South Bank in London, the Festival Hall and all the area there. And I put on an event called What Women Want. And I had sold my PR business by then. So I literally had my daughter, who was 14 at the time, helping me. And together with support from Anita Roddick, the late great Anita Roddick from The Body Shop, and other people, they supported me in putting on this wonderful 2-3 days when women came together to look at all aspects of their life, learn how to use the internet, because we weren't even on the internet then, or learn about natural health. Romy Fraser, who lives in the Southwest, who started Neil's Yard, put a whole series of events and workshops on with her and other colleagues talking about natural health for women. We talked about sexuality, we talked about spirituality. We talked about things that really women were not talking about in those days. And it was over this period. And then I had a big concert on the Saturday night where I got Sinead O'Connor and Chrissy Hind and Joe Brand presented it, and Jermaine Greer came and spoke. And we had a number of other women artists, and I had some Irish nuns came over that Sinead knew and did this whole ritual, Brigidine Sisters, and it was amazing. And the Evening Standard, the London newspaper, did a big headline, big story: sex, nuns, and rock and roll at Lynnes Women's Festival. And that was really when that wasn't on International Women's Day, that was in August, because the big conference in Beijing was literally the next weekend. So I put this big event on, and then I got on the plane and went over to the conference in Beijing, and went as a journalist and started sending stories back as a radio journalist to Viva, which was a women's radio station that I happened to be chair of. It wasn't my business, but when I left the PR world and I started my business, which I did in 89, 90, they contacted me, they're a radio company, and said, we want to start a women's radio station. Will you come and be chair, and will you present your own story and your own program, which I called then, Frankly Speaking, and interviews some amazing women for that. So that was me really getting much more aware of what was happening to women. And International Women's Day sort of grew. I mean, it was already going. It's been going since 1911, when exploited workers, garment industry workers in New York, a lot of them were actually caught in a horrible fire, and a lot of them were killed, but they were being very exploited anyway. So they went on the streets to protest, and that's where it all started. And it was much bigger in Eastern Europe, actually, where it would be a day where men would give women flowers. But over here, I used to talk to the media about International Women's Day. They had no idea what I was talking about. And when I launched Seed Handbook 21 years ago, I launched it on International Women's Day, as I said, and no one knew what I was talking about. And every time it's been International Women's Day, I've done something, launched something or brought a new book out or something, made a lot of noise. And this year, the last 2 or 3 years, or maybe the last 5 years, the awareness of International Women's Day has grown so remarkably that nobody is not aware of it anymore. I mean, it's huge, and that's good. One could say, well, when we get to the point where we don't need it anymore, why would we want International Women's Day? We haven't got an International Men's Day. Which actually, there's no reason why we shouldn't. But when we get to the point when we've got gender equality, which we do not have anywhere in the world, including this country, then we won't worry about having International Women's Day. Although I actually think it's always a nice thing to
reflect on,
acknowledge and reflect. But we've got a long way to go. Most of the businesses are not run by men, not run by women. They're run by men. There's still lots of changes, really.
Absolutely. Wow.
Yeah, so it's been a busy life. I mean, I'm coming up to my 73rd birthday, and as I've mentioned, I've got grandchildren, and life has kind of continued to grow, and I'm, touch wood, pretty healthy most of the time. And so I feel, okay, what next? What next? What am I doing next? What's my next? So this work I'm doing, not only here in the community in Somerset, but this global work I'm doing is absolutely thrilling, that I can talk to these different countries and do work there. And I did go to Kazakhstan getting tired now. I've done about 10 talks this week. 2 years ago, I went to Kazakhstan. They invited me over to a conference to empower Afghani women. And I was the only UK person there. And it was so interesting. So very, very interesting. So that's when they asked me if I like my book to come out there. So they took the Seed Handbook and they published it there in Kazakhstan and in Russian.
That's really quite something, that though, isn't it, for a Middle Eastern country to have a book for women's empowerment to be published?
It's really amazing. Well, they're not Middle East Kazakhstan. It's what they call Central Asia. So it's what was the Soviet Union. It's the steppes of Russia. What was the steppes of the Soviet Union and its independent country. It's all the countries that end in stan, you know. But I don't remember what half of them are called. But anyway, Kazakhstan is the biggest one and quite a wealthy one, actually. But they were originally nomad people. They're very beautiful people. They're sort of Mongolian. They're very close. Mongolia is one of their borders, and a lot of Mongolian people actually originally from Kazakhstan and were nomad tribes people. Sort of then the Russians took it over. Anyway, it's very I find it fascinating, the history. But the Middle East we're working in as well with Saudi Arabia and with Iraq, and I'm hoping we're going to be working with the refugee women. Syrian refugee women as well. That's in Jordan and Turkey. We have done a bit of work, and I really want that to grow.
I'm sure it will, because what Lynne wants, she normally manifests.
Oh, don't quote that quote. That's not my quote.
No, that's not your quote. But just to look at the progress you've made, there is no reason.
Yeah, when I have the vision, I do try and make it manifest, go to reality. It seems that way. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and as you say, the world is slowly turning, which is, as you say, wonderful to see, and might not be in our lifetime. It might not move that quickly, but we're definitely on the right track, aren't we?
Yeah.
To which end, with all of your writing skills above everything else, you also do poetry too, don't you?
Yes, when I get a moment to do it. And I did write a poem quite recently, which I think this is the recent one. Yes, it is. So I wrote this a month or so ago. Should I read it out then? It's called,
I think that would be a wonderful way to
end, yes. So yes. I called it Seeding the Future. As women, we are the caretakers of society, feeding the children, making the home. It is now our time to create new beginnings when we humans become the best we can. Seeding the earth with care and compassion, with new trees for shelter and herbs to heal. With plants to eat and flowers to shine, we must live in our power and hold the space for cooperation and collaboration, integrity and truth. And above and beyond, we must nourish ourselves, grow into the fullness of being, and be with our sisters, holding each other and hearing our stories, as a sacred new world dawns full of love, not fear. That was my poem.
That
is absolutely lovely, and I think
thank you.
Very
much for coming on, Lynne. When I sent you the email, I never thought you'd even respond to it, let alone come, particularly because it's such a busy time.
I'm really supportive of community activities in Somerset. You know, I really am.
Thank you.
That's where my chosen home now, so I'm happy to be part of it. I'm happy to be here. Thank you for asking me, and I look forward to seeing you in person here.
Yeah, and then we will no doubt invite you back again and have another good old chinwag.
Great.
In person. We'll pop down to the
pop in and
see what's going on.
Firsthand. Thank you very, very much. It has been lovely speaking to you. As I say, look forward to meeting you in person.
Yes, my pleasure.
But for now, we'll say goodbye, and no doubt same place, same time next week with a new guest. Okay, thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.